Hello, everyone who's tuning in. I am Christy, the co-founder of Just Peoples, and I'm here today with Mushfiqur, who is one of our project leaders in Bangladesh. So today is the last day of Ramadan, so we thought we'd take this opportunity to learn more about the month-long event that is observed by millions of people around the world each year. So Mushfiqur is going to give an overview of Ramadan generally and what it means to Bangladeshi people, as well as what it means for him personally and for his work supporting people who are living in poverty around Bangladesh. So hello, Mushfiqur.
Hi, Christy. Thank you so much for having me today. And it's amazing to have the opportunity to share about our experience of Ramadan and what it means for us to be part of Ramadan from Bangladesh and what we personally do.
Awesome. Thank you. So can you tell me a little bit about what Ramadan is? I think a lot of our audience knows the general overview, but actually it's not so familiar in our culture. So it would be great to hear, what does Ramadan mean for Bangladeshis who observe it?
So basically, Ramadan for us is a 1 month long thing where we basically fast throughout the day. So it's very different from our everyday life because we basically have to wake up before sunrise, eat a little bit, and then we go on a fast. And then we have to fast throughout the day. That means not eating anything or not drinking anything. And then we break our fast at sunset. So the time or the duration of Ramadan completely depends from country to country, person to person. And another interesting thing is that Ramadan is based on the lunar calendar. So every year Ramadan gets 10 days behind from the last year. So which means that for the last few years, we have been inching Ramadan towards the summer end. So now we are observing Ramadan in the summer. That makes it a little bit more difficult to fast. Just saying like some context of how Ramadan changes over time. So during Ramadan, there are some very interesting things that we basically do, and culturally things that we also see. So in Ramadan, our religious instructions are that when we are fasting, we also have to behave really well. So we can't go out and fight with someone else, argue with someone else. So we have to be on our best behavior or our fasting doesn't work or it's not accepted. So there's a lot of good behavior aspects that we have to follow during Ramadan. So we have all kinds of arguments. We can't talk really loudly to someone or rudely to someone. And all the other good stuff that a person needs to do throughout the day. So for example, we're not allowed to lie. We're not allowed to cheat, bribe. So, that's just the small things sometimes we do throughout the day. So it's a whole month of basically trying to become a better person, trying to be more communal, trying to be a better part of your community, trying to give better. And the other major aspect is also religiously and culturally. When we do a good deed during Ramadan, it's supposedly multiplied by 70 times. So that means that there's a lot of incentives for everyone to do a lot of good. And that's why we see that around the world, people become more charitable during Ramadan. They behave significantly better, at least until iftar. That's what we call our meal after sunset. Everyone's behaved really well. So I think those are some of the key things that we observe during Ramadan.
Wow, that's so interesting. I didn't know the part about good behavior, not being able to fight or raise your voice or lie. Do people actually do it? Like, do people take it seriously?
Yeah, so it's actually incredible. You'll see an entire change of scenario during Ramadan. So even people you might generally think are off-putting or don't talk very nicely, even they become very nice. So in Ramadan, sometimes it's much easier to do things because everyone's being ultra nice to you.
That is amazing. And so with the idea that whatever you contribute is multiplied by 70 times, is the idea that if you give $1 to someone who needs it, then God will supply another $70 to that person?
Yeah, so basically in terms of Ramadan, what we have been religiously told is that anything that we do during Ramadan that's good, God will basically supply whatever good you do into 70 times personally for you. So Ramadan is considered one of those good deeds where God directly sort of helps you and supports you with direct benefits and rewards.
Okay, kind of like a karma on steroids.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's really cool. And so do you feel like it works? Do you feel like you become a better person through observing it?
I think that this for us is very critical training because it's not just something that you do in one day, right? So you do it through 30 days. So behaving a certain way in 30 days, it makes a certain kind of dent in your behavior. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't usually think about a lot of humanitarian things around the entire month, or if you're someone who maybe loses their temper quickly or something like that, Ramadan is the perfect time to create that behavior. So, it becomes better over time. And the other thing is the core principle of why we observe Ramadan was it was made for us as an experience to understand what people without food feel like throughout the day, right? So that's one of the core reasons that we observe Ramadan, or why Ramadan was made mandatory for us, according to our religion. Because after sunset, we still have access to food, but a lot of people around the world don't throughout the day. And it's just an experience of what that feels like, what having the option to not eat feels like. So for us, that's why it's so important.
Wow, that's incredible. So it really builds that empathy, that sort of humanitarian spirit.
Yeah,
Oh, this
exactly.
is amazing. And so you get 1 month out of 12 to have this sort of reset and to focus on your behavior and disciplining yourself and to aim to be a higher version of yourself, essentially.
Right.
I love, I love it. I want to observe it too. Like this is wonderful. And so how is it for you personally? What have you been doing over this month? Have you had to hold yourself back from getting in a fight?
So in Ramadan, especially for us living in Bangladesh, it's so big of a change. It's a very visible change, right? It's not about just the fasting, it's also what happens after you fast through the day, because the meal that we have at the end, it's supposed to be a shared community meal. So we also have, good deed reward points for having the meal together as a unit of a family or with friends or with the community as well. So that means that every day we are rushing 1.5 hour before sunset to reach home and cook a meal with our moms and help them out in the kitchen, because again all the good deeds are multiplied, so that counts. And then we all work together, set the table up, and this means that this is one time of the year where we're constantly having a shared meal at a specific time of the day throughout the month. And additionally, I think that other than the fasting, everything changes in terms of food because all restaurants are closed throughout the day as well. Some of the small things in Ramadan, especially iftar, have been commercialized in the recent times, where iftar has become an expensive experience outside of home for a lot of us. But the essence of it in terms of sharing a meal with people, because I know a lot of my friends who work in Bangladesh, they actually go ahead and sit on the streets with hundreds of other people and then they share a meal like that. So you see a lot of stuff like that happening, where at sunset you see hundreds and thousands of people on the streets everywhere sharing meals, eating, trying to feed each other food. So it's a very warm experience that we feel during this time of the year.
That's beautiful. Wow, this is really so much more in depth than I understood. I love that. And it must be so good to build deeper relationships or to reconnect with your family and your wider community and build that sense of knowing that you've got a network of people around you that are on the same page as you, or, fighting the same fight. That's really cool. I love the sense of community that it builds. I didn't realize that at all. Thank you. And so this idea of getting 70 times your input back as a reward for yourself, this is very interesting and very motivating. It's a great incentive to do good. So what does that mean for Bangladesh society as a whole? If everyone spends a month doing good deeds, what are the overall impacts for Bangladesh in terms of poverty reduction?
Right. So we have a system which is called zakat, which is basically a mandatory charity that we have to do, which is 2.5% of our accumulated wealth. So that's mandatory for all Muslims who have a specific, there's a certain amount of money after which you have to basically pay this amount. It's like a Muslim tax system. So that's a religious tax that we pay. And this money, you have to spend it in sustainable development. So you can just give it to someone and think, no, this is done, I gave it to someone. It's more about, for example, if you buy, let's say, tailoring equipment for someone. So that person can make a continuous earning for themselves. You have to enable people to make their own earnings or get up on their own feet. So that's what the charitable donation is meant for. So basically, this is a mandatory tax that almost have to pay once throughout the year. So common practice in Bangladesh is they wait for Ramadan to make that tax payment. They want to make that payment, but they also want to get the 70 times reward for payment, right? So that's why during Ramadan, we see that everyone, even people from normal households, they actually chip in quite a lot of money, which goes to support very sustainable developments. So a lot of people are helped to build shops or their own businesses, or just for people who might not have access to food, water, sanitation. So to improve those services. So we see that during this month, since all the charitable organizations, the development organizations, they go on an overdrive to get things done. And they also, during this time, that also means that they get a significantly more amount of work done than any other month, because now they have access to a little bit more funds. And also it's very easy to find volunteers. Even random people are willing to help out because everyone's in on the 70x, features. Everyone's on overdrive, everyone's ready to help. And if you just ask any person on the road randomly, hey, do you want to feed, let's say, a person this Ramadan, and they'll just jump. They'll go, yeah, let's do that. Or they'll just jump at any idea to help. So I think this amplification of good behavior really helps a lot of the causes that we face in Bangladesh, and especially dealing with things like food and water. These are some of the things that you see amplify during Ramadan. So a lot of people get better access to food, better access to water and sanitation, and projects like that. Yeah.
Wow, this is so cool. It's really a huge incentive, isn't it?
Yeah.
70 times goodwill coming back to you. That's amazing. The NGOs and the development organizations, they know that they've got this month where they're going to get a boost in income, where they can really run their services. That's awesome for them as well. So you don't give your Muslim tax to the mosques then? It's
no, you can if you want to, but generally it's preferred for us to spend the money in a sustainable manner. So the general trend is that we try to spend it in more sustainable projects so that the money actually makes sense going into these projects and helping more people. Yeah.
Fantastic. And so for your own development work and supporting people out of the poor, what does this mean for you? Are you guys expecting a boost in donations? Have you got anything planned for Ramadan? Or are you contributing so that you get 70 times back? Or what does it mean for your impact?
Right. So basically during Ramadan, what we try to do from our end as well, we definitely also try to amplify our efforts, because we know that if we do that during Ramadan, we can actually reap more benefits and help more people out. We basically do two things. So for our school in Thanchir, usually we have an issue where we have to feed basically 80 to 90 kids throughout the entire year. So during Ramadan, it's a good time for us to save up and raise some money where we basically get enough money to buy food materials for them throughout the year. So that helps us really identify that project and make that work very well. And it's usually during Ramadan that we raise enough money to do that for the entire year. So there are people who come forward and go like, I want to sponsor the school's food for a month and so on. So that's one thing. And then as we're part of the Bangladeshi community and we do multiple projects in different places, so we also raise some funds to do smaller activities around Bangladesh. But what happens is that during Ramadan, for us personally, like for me and Bushra, we have so much to do, but so little time, because in Ramadan, the only thing is that we have a reduced day because you get tired fasting the entire day and not eating and drinking anything. So for example, we fast from 4 to 6, like 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. approximately. So after 4:30 p.m. or 5 p.m., you get really tired. You don't have a lot of energy to on the field and work. So we try to get all of our activities done before that time so that we can also prepare for the iftar and meal. I think for us, we basically try our best to raise as much funding as possible during the month of Ramadan, because we also want to share the feeling of community, the sustainability, and we want to share that with all kinds of communities everywhere. And keeping that in mind, we try our best and also try to amplify our efforts for both the reasons of helping the community and also getting a 70 times. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Well, Eid Mubarak, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's
And
right.
what does that actually mean, just to finish off? How do you
Yeah.
celebrate the final day?
So basically, in our religion, after 30 days of observing Ramadan, we basically get one day where we get to celebrate that we got this month, that we celebrated it together. So it's one day that we celebrate the month of Ramadan and the ending of the month of Ramadan. So on Eid day, we have a few activities as well. For example, during this Eid, we buy new clothes and other things like that. And that's something that's common around the world. And so on Eid day, we all wear new clothes and we have a communal prayer in the morning on Eid day. So everyone wears their new clothes, they do the communal prayer, and we basically have a sort of a mandatory hugging after the prayer. So everyone hugs each other after the prayer and commemorates the ending of Ramadan. So it's just a wrap up session of the entire month of Ramadan.
That's beautiful. What nice way to end. And then, so the next day, does everything go back to normal, or is 30 days been long enough to get into better habits and so people are less likely to argue and raise their voice and lie? Right.
Yeah, like I think that just immediately after the first month after Ramadan, there's a lot of overlapping effects. So everyone still stays at their best behavior or tries to. But obviously, as the time goes by, a lot of people's natural traits comes back. But then again, that's for the next Ramadan to try and solve or help you be a better person. But I think it still does have an impact on you as a person. And to a lot of people, they really do understand what it feels like to go hungry in the summer, in the heat. And we feel for people, for example, who drive rickshaws all throughout the day, who don't get enough food, enough money. And for people who come from communities like in Thamchi, where they don't have enough access to proper food or access to other things. So it's understanding how lucky we are to have the resources we have. And it's just trying, at least making the attempt or the first attempt to become a better person. Not everyone becomes a better person, but the attempt counts.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really sounds like you've got millions of people putting in effort all at once to be better people and make a difference. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. It's so informative, and I'm sure everyone listening has learned a lot as well. So thank you so much, and enjoy the Eid celebrations.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Thank you also for doing this while you must be very hungry and tired. Thanks so much, Mushfiqur.
Thank you, Christy, for having me and letting me have the opportunity to share about Ramadan.